Today on Growing Bolder, the secret to thriving in your 90s or 100s, Marianne Cooper shares what keeps her going strong.
I'm always looking for the little miracles, of, not big things, but the little miracles. The nice, happy little things that happen are the most wonderful part of life.
How poetry has helped Belinda Cypress with the loss of her husband. And how rock stars Miriam Stockley and Rod Hewson have remained true to their love of music and to one another, all from the comfort of their home.
Hold on, hold on.
It's all ahead on Growing Bolder. We're not made to withdraw from life. We're made to seize each moment and to value every breath. We're made to be bold, to take risk, and to help others. We are the most creative, fearless, passionate being that has ever walked the face of the earth. Don't identify with limitation. Embrace possibility. This is not the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of what's next. This is Growing Bolder. Hi, I'm Mark Middleton, and this is Growing Bolder. And as you know, we love our mission of helping people understand that more is possible as we age. And I'm personally fascinated with active centenarians, men and women who continue to live active, engaged social lives into their 100s. We received word recently that Marianne Cooper is now 104 years old and still going strong. And I have to say, I'm not surprised. We met Marianne 8 years ago when she was just 96 and had traveled all the way from British Columbia to Arizona to compete alongside her 70-year-old daughter in the U.S. Masters Swimming National Championships. There's plenty to cheer about at the U.S. Masters Swimming National Championships, including the presence of a dozen former Olympians. But this is something we can all cheer about, the growing number of stereotype-smashing older competitors.
I'm going to try to finish before dark.
The oldest competitor in the meet is 96-year-old Marianne Cooper, a retired biologist who's traveled to Arizona from British Columbia, Canada.
You've got to keep the old engine going, and if you can get around, why not?
This old engine runs strong every day, according to Marianne's daughter, who is also competing.
She lives every day at the fullest, and she never lets one challenge get by her. She goes every challenge. She says, I can do it, and she does it. And sometimes slower, sometimes it takes her longer, sometimes she has, but she does it.
And today she's doing it in the pool, competing in her specialty, the 100-yard backstroke, or as she calls it, an adventure. What do you enjoy most? What's the most fun for you in life?
Adventures. I like to explore and investigate things and get into things. I love projects, and I especially like to work with people.
You are very attractive. I bet you got men trying to take you out all the time.
I'm looking for a tall, dark, and handsome one.
You still like the guys, huh?
Of course. They're fun to do things with. I like them when they're adventuresome and lively and imaginative and interested in everything.
Marianne isn't trying to be a role model or even set an example, but with every stroke, she's doing just that.
Everybody has a gift of life, and if they don't use it, they're missing out on some good adventures. The good Lord gave us gifts, and if we don't use them, we lose them. The more you let it go by, the less it is.
Marianne's secret to long life is staying active, and her secret to enjoying life is celebrating the little things.
I'm always looking for the little miracles, of, not big things, but the little miracles. The nice, happy little things that happen are the most wonderful part of life.
Like competing in the national championships with your 70-year-old daughter. Marianne Cooper didn't come here to win her age group, but she did. And she didn't come here to win the respect of every other competitor, but she did that as well. Another of life's little miracles. This is what I love the most about what we do, meeting men and women like Mary Ann, of which there are more and more every day. Men and women who are focused on enjoying their lives, extracting as much joy out of every minute as they can. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, Mary Ann gave us a great one. Sometimes life's greatest joys are found in the smallest things, the little miracles that most of us either take for granted or don't notice at all. Every day is filled with countless moments of wonder, and the happiest among us are those that notice them, appreciate them, and are grateful for them.
Do you want to live a long, fulfilling life? Of course you do. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to just sit in a chair and watch TV during my retirement years. Having extra years of an enjoyable life should be considered a major goal and one of life's greatest blessings. But without sufficient resources to adequately fund a longer life, that extra time could be spent with heartbreak, struggle, and even financial disaster. So there is good news. There are some steps you can take to reduce what experts call this longevity risk. So obviously part of the answer is to get a financial plan if you don't already have one. Save, invest, and reduce spending. But the real solution is found in the health-wealth connection. The number one investment we can all make beginning right now is simply improving our health and well-being. 92-year-old Ann Call has made that investment in herself. She takes no regular prescription medications, and for the last 4 years, since the age of 89, she has racked up $0 in healthcare costs. Ann could really be the poster child for the health-wealth connection.
I believe in doing some kind of exercise every day. It doesn't have to be a lot, it doesn't have to be intense, but just a simple walk for 30, 40 minutes. If you do that almost every day, that is a huge help. I have had the most wonderful life, full of challenges, but a fantastic life. And I'm now at the point in my life where I'm probably the happiest I've ever been, because I have my freedom, my independence, and my health. What more could you ask?
All the money in the world can't buy good health. But good health can save hundreds of thousands of dollars over our lifetimes. The ever-increasing cost of healthcare and the fact that medicine and technology will help keep us alive longer, even with chronic illnesses and disease, makes it imperative to seize the health-wealth connection. Never say you can't afford to invest in your future. We all have the ability to leverage the health-wealth connection. You can start growing bolder today.
You know, there's so many of us out there just trying to do the best we can, just trying to get through life. So what happens when suddenly and without warning, it all gets ripped away? Dealing with grief is something we will all likely experience. How will you handle it? Belinda Cypress never saw it coming, never realized that day when she woke to celebrate one of the greatest events of her life that would also end up being one of the worst.
Personal trial, to consider somebody else's day and lift them with a smile. I met my husband, Jerry, in church. And he did say he spotted me. And he says, that's going to be my wife one day. And sure enough. And it was a very happy union.
He was the love of her life until in an instant, without warning, a heart attack killed him.
We were married 45 years, and he passed away on our 45th anniversary.
Belinda was in shock, overcome with grief. So many questions.
Why did it happen at the peak of my life, it seemed? I thought I had everything. I thought I had everything I wanted. And then zap.
It was the end of life as she knew it, but it was also the beginning of a new one.
So what happened, reality set in. And I had to get up and do, because he had a company that he was a contractor for. That was our bread and butter.
Belinda had no choice but to rise to the challenge, overcome her heartbreak, and take over that company.
Well, sometimes you cry, but sometimes there are happy tears because you realize it's my time to grow into someone that I didn't know that I would become.
But there was still grief, sadness, loneliness. To cope, she began to write poetry.
I could express it, seemed like a little better as I wrote than when I could speak, because I was very shy. And as I sat there and composed, sometimes I would cry. And I knew that's it. That's it. I am convinced. I'm truly convinced that in this time, and I'm sure that
she wrote enough to publish 2 books, mostly just for her, but she began to get the most amazing feedback from total strangers.
Do you know how that made me feel? Oh, yeah. So that encouraged me that people out there hurting and they need you. They need to know that you care about them.
Even if it's just a poem.
It's just a poem.
Words of encouragement.
That's it.
Since then, she's read her poetry in prisons, for church groups, and for anyone in search of encouragement.
Your children and your grandchildren, they watch you. They see you. How proud are they? Because they thought, ooh, Mom gonna be in bad shape. But when I start doing these things that please me and settle me, like writing, oh, Mom, you're writing again. Oh, Mom, I'm so happy.
Belinda suffered a devastating loss, one she doubted she'd ever overcome. She knows she's not the only one, which is why she has this advice to pass along.
Keep that hope that people sometimes lose when life doesn't come out exactly the way you expect it to. Don't give up. If you have to cry a little, go ahead. Go ahead. But always put someone else ahead of yourself, because that is the secret to your joy and peace. Ask for peace and you'll get it.
Belinda Cypress overcame the death of her husband, and she found a way to live her best life. And she's not the only one that's had to do that. Virginia Farino lost her husband after 61 years. When we met her, she was 90, a little afraid, a little lonely, but determined to move forward.
There comes a time when you have to make a decision. Are you going to wallow in pity for yourself all your life, or are you going to stop it and start enjoying it? So I'm enjoying it.
So what do Virginia and Belinda show us? Well, that even after the loss of someone important, it is possible to have a rewarding life, but don't wait until then to start doing it. Here's a couple who found a way to combine their love for music with their love for each other. And they've had to travel cross-continent to do it. But as George Diaz tells us, they've found a way to take their lives and their careers in music straight to the top of the charts.
There's always something new in music.
They may not look like it, but Miriam Stockley and Rod Hewson are rock stars. They have mixed and mingled and performed with Freddie Mercury and Queen, Pete Townsend and The Who, Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, even Barbra Streisand. But you probably don't recognize them, and that's exactly the way they want it, because this couple chose family over fame.
We just kind of love each other. What can I tell you?
Mary is a star overseas. She performed at the Lady Diana Memorial Concert, at Live Aid 2, and one of her hits went gold and platinum worldwide. Rod built the studio in England where The Who recorded Quadrophenia and parts of Tommy. He toured with the band and even filled in on drums once when Keith Moon was too drunk to play. But both turned away from celebrity to turn towards each other.
You go to the studio, you do your work, you come home, that's it. You don't bring your work home with you. Even though our work is here, it ends there. When we come in here, we'll watch a movie, we just do what normal people do.
You see, when they left England to move to Maitland, a quiet Florida suburb, they gave up that celebrity stardom, but they did not give up their careers.
So we'll just pick one of those voices. Right now, I just want to make sure it's popping through okay. I'm just going to cycle that.
Hold on.
Hold on. Just go from that one. Mm-hmm.
Right, let's open.
Hold on.
No, we don't have the whole lot there. You need to open on.
It's just now the studio and their stage is their home.
Hold on. Hold on.
They're still in demand and still involved in many major projects. Rod is an engineer and Mary doing background vocals. Not only do they find a way to make it work, they believe the results are actually better.
Well, number one, I trust him implicitly. We've been working together for so long that he knows exactly what kind of sound I like on my vocal, and that is important for a singer. Because when you go from studio to studio, your voice sounds different every time you record, depending on who's on the other side of the desk. So he learned to give me the sound that I really, really loved and trusted and wanted, and I just wouldn't want to work with anybody else. I said to him, if you stop recording me, I'm going to stop recording. That's it, done.
Their working and living arrangement have allowed them to raise a family, to be there for each other, and most importantly, to keep their priorities in line. And that is the soundtrack of their lives.
I mean, music is important, but it's not as important as it used to be. If I couldn't choose back then I had to work, I had to do music. Now, I don't have to do it if I don't want to do it anymore. So, to me, those are the priorities for me, is good food also helps.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's health.
Of course.
Health, family, and really those two are the cardinal items, really.
Despite all the stars they've worked with and all the accolades they've received along the way, what really counts to Rod and Mary is simple humanity.
The one thing I've learned over the past few years is to be kind to other human beings, to people. Humanity first before anything else.
These days, we don't have to give up the passions of our youth. We might have to make some accommodations, but older adults are now even participating in what used to be considered a young person's extreme sport like motocross. In fact, Masters Motocross for 40 and older racers is now the fastest growing division in that sport. It's the ultimate motorized high-wire act, and some of these riders, men and women, are in their 60s. Of course, they don't heal as fast as they used to, and they do have to go to work on Monday morning, so they back off on the throttle just a little, but the appeal is as strong as it ever was.
I've been doing it since I was little, since my dad put me on my first dirt bike, and I've been at it strong. I mean, it's like therapy to me. I got to do it every week. I mean, it keeps me young. I'm 47 years old, and I love every minute of it.
Over the years, we've met some real characters who will do just about anything to chase their passions. We were not only there, we were actually part of the story the day that Delma Cowart, closing in on his 70th birthday and the last of a dying breed, made his final attempt to shock the world of stock car racing.
Mark, I'm in trouble, man. I can't get my car going. I really need some help bad. Do you think there's anything you can tell me that might help me go a little quicker?
Delma Cowart was the last of a dying breed, a part-time racer struggling against all odds to drive in the Daytona 500. The only driver whose chance of winning was always the same as his number. But for Delma, it never was about winning. It was about the satisfaction that comes from trying.
I can go back to Savannah, Georgia and get a shovel in my hand and just smile when I'm down in that hole shoveling dirt. Don't bother me at all.
But nothing comes easy for Delma. After 3.5 days at Daytona, he has yet to take a single lap.
And you name it, and it has happened to us. The car didn't fit the template. When we cranked the car, we found out we had an oil leak. Then when we got that figured, we cranked it up, and then the carburetor was pouring gas. And then the throttle stuck on the carburetor when I cranked it up. Evidently, we got a bearing coming out of third gear, and that's where I'm at today. People don't realize the odds of getting in this race. You're fighting money. You know, I got a crew of all volunteer guys. That's why they're putting stuff on backwards and upside down and all that stuff. They don't do it very much, you know.
With his final chance to qualify now less than 1 hour away, Delma and his crew scramble to fix what they can. Then another problem.
The bushing come out of the sway bar, and we just now found it. We're trying to go through tech, to go through inspection, and I don't know if we're going to make it or not. It's really, it's close, man.
Finally, the car is rolled into inspection, but Delma has to be on the track in 5 minutes or he won't be allowed to run. With just 30 seconds to go, the Zero car clears inspection, but it won't start, so we push. It's the race to get into the race.
Delma's going to make it here by just a few seconds. As long as he is out on pit road, he'll be allowed to qualify. So he does make it actually by about 2 or 3 seconds.
Am I right on the edge or what, man?
You're living on the edge.
I'll tell you what, sometimes I think I'm going to fall off too. I really do.
With no practice, no third gear, and no idea how the car will run, Delma takes 2 laps, hitting 181 miles per hour to earn the final spot in the qualifying race.
Well, the driver was lucky. I didn't hit nothing. You know what I'm talking about? I just mashed it to the floor and turned left. Said, Lord, if you help me through these 2, I'll make the next ones all by myself, you know.
All that stands between Delma and a spot in the 500 are the biggest names in racing with faster cars, bigger crews, and unlimited budgets. 32 cars take the green flag, and by the second lap, Sterling Marlin has the lead. And back, way back, way back, Delma is laying low, ready to pounce if there's trouble ahead. But there is none. Not a single crash, not a yellow flag. Delma has to move up on his own. When the checkered flag is dropped, Delma is in 29th spot. He moved up 3 places, but not enough to get in the 500.
Kind of like Patton said, I'll be back, and I'll be stronger. I promise you that.
Sadly, that was Delma's final attempt to qualify for the Daytona 500, but the last I heard, he is still tearing up the dirt tracks in Savannah. My favorite Delma quote ever, I never won a race, but I never lost a party.
Chances are, at some point, we all find ourselves facing adversity. It can be heartbreaking, overwhelming, and life-changing. Trust me, I know. I'm Cecily Wilson, author, journalist, and stroke survivor. Sometimes when it hits you, it's like a door you just can't open, or a boulder that's impossible to move. If you find yourself in a situation like that, just stop. Take a breath, because the only way around it is to change your perspective. As difficult as it seems, the way forward starts with accepting your situation for what it is. Changing your perspective allows you to look past the pain and the fear and lets you see your adversity as an opportunity, a new beginning. When we put our challenges into perspective, we become capable of doing great things in life. Perspective allows us to accept what we have and give us the vision to build on it. It helps strengthen your faith in yourself to overcome the inevitable changes. If you get to that point, you're well on your way. There's no better satisfaction than helping somebody else who is already going through something that you've already experienced. Trust me, I took the pain, made a pivot, and turned it into power. You can too, because that's growing bolder.
Moving forward in the face of adversity, taking chances and risking failure, putting yourself out there is never easy. And no matter what we do and how we do it, we will be met with criticism. 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle said there is only one way to avoid criticism: to do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. Aristotle's words are more relevant now than ever because we've become a society of critics, finding fault in just about everything and everyone. And many of us have become so afraid of criticism that we do end up doing nothing. Understand that critics are everywhere. They're online, they're at work, they're in your neighborhood, and maybe they're even in your family. But we can't let them keep us from chasing our dreams, from taking chances and risking failure, from trying to drive in our own version of the Daytona 500, because that's growing bolder.
Watch previous seasons of Growing Bolder plus bonus stories via our new free streaming app. More information at growingbolder.com/TV. And you can get inspired to plan your what's next when you connect with the Growing Bolder community on Facebook. Show the world you're growing bolder with official Growing Bolder products. Growing Bolder tees and hats are available for $25 each. Custom mugs are $15, and inspiring Tear and Share postcards featuring original artwork and bold messages are $15 plus shipping and handling. All items are available at growingbolder.com/shop.